It's me again, Dawn Flood with Student Leadership Services, or SLS. I hope you were able to watch our online video, which was released a couple days ago, titled Coping with Stress and Anxiety During Difficult Times. If you haven't had a chance, it is available on our Facebook page at SLS Today or on our website, slstoday.org. I encourage you to check it out. Today I'm tuning in with you with a special video that I'd like to dedicate to seniors, the class of 2020. As seniors, I'm sure you have many questions right now. Questions and disappointments. And some of your questions might be, will I be able to go back to school? Will I be able to graduate? Will I be able to finish my spring sports or my spring play? What about prom? All these questions I'm sure are on your mind and causing you stress and anxiety. Unfortunately, the answer to these questions are yet to be determined because we don't know. And I know that not having an answer can sometimes lead us with difficult emotions. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge that me, along with everyone at SLS, is extremely sorry for what is happening because it's happening during such an important milestone in all of your lives. I know that you must feel so disappointed that things are canceled and postponed. I know many of you have been waiting for years and have been talking about your graduation and your celebration. Not only have you been looking forward to it, but so has your family. And so because of that, I want to say that I'm sorry, that this is very unfortunate. So not only are you disappointed because of the uncertainty with when will our senior activities continue, but also now you're physically separated from your school family. Your school family that consists of your teachers, your coaches, your counselors, your friends. All those people who make up your school family you can't physically be with. And during your senior year, that's very important. So today what I would like to do is I'd like to take some time and help us be able to recognize where we are, how we're feeling, and make a plan to move forward. So to help us move forward, what we need to do is we need to look at how to manage our disappointments by looking at what we were expecting to have happen our senior year, and then also looking at what we see happening. What is it that we're observing? And then the gap in between. I know for the Student Advisory Board, they had a lot to look forward to this spring, not only in their own SLS chapter as seniors of their chapter, but also on a state organizational level, as they had some great things planned for all of you. And so I know they also are having disappointments that those things are postponed as well. So the first thing that I want us to do is, and I'm going to ask you to do this in a minute, okay, but I'm going to demonstrate what I want you to do. Because all you're going to need is just a piece of paper and something to write with. So you can get that in a minute. Let me kind of explain what I want you to do first, okay? On your piece of paper, I want you to draw two boxes. The first box have on your left, so if you look at my trusty flip chart paper here, on my left, I'm going to do one box, and I'm going to label it expectations. Okay, so on the left, expectation box. And then over on the right, I'm going to do another box, and I'm going to label that what is happening. So what is happening or what is I'm observing, whichever one works for you. But make sure you have one on the right and one on the left with a middle open, because this is our gap. So I want you to go ahead and I want you to pause the video, get a piece of paper and a pencil or whatever you want to write with, and draw your two boxes with expectations and what's happening. And then make a list of what were you expecting this year as a senior. What were some things you were looking forward to, the things that you were expecting just because you're a senior? It might include prom. And then once you create that list, then go to your what is happening box. And I want you to make a list of what is currently happening now. So for an example, it might be no school. That is what is currently happening. So go ahead and pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. Did you miss me? All right. So I'm guessing that your boxes and the list in your boxes are pretty similar to mine. I wrote what I feel that your expectations would be right now as a senior. So your expectations is you would go to prom, that you would be participating in your spring sports, your spring activities, your musicals, your drama, all that great stuff that you're involved in. That you, expectations of senior skip day. That's something we look forward to ever since we start school. The day we can skip school and say, I get to because I'm a senior. As well as clap outs, graduation parties, and stuff like that. Tons of things that I couldn't fit into my box that I'm sure is on your list and your expectations. Then we look at what is happening. What is happening that is right now out of our control. So some of the things I have in my box, which I think are in yours as well, is no school, no after-school job. You're stuck at home. You're stuck at home with your families, your brothers, your sisters, perhaps other family members that now you're responsible for. You're physically separated from your school family, like we mentioned earlier, your friends, your coaches, your teachers, your counselors, all those people that you build a connection with. You're physically separated from them. And your school structure has changed, and that's probably the biggest change that we're going through right now, is you're used to going to school every day and interacting and sitting in classes and be able to ask questions and stuff like that, and all that's changed. All of that we have to now do online and go by what we're reading and stuff like that. So those are the things that I feel that you might be uncertain about or disappointed, because those things are happening and they're out of our control. The disappointment that we're having right now, okay, it can help us grow. It can help us overcome challenges. And I know it's hard to think that far ahead, but what I want us to do to help us through that is we're going to look at strategies that we can help fill the gap. You notice there's a big blank box here between what we were expecting to what is happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up with those strategies to fill the gap and help us cope. Okay, so now I want to introduce the 6 R's that's going to help us fill our gap. Okay, so the 6 R's. And so you can write this down as we kind of go through them. And I may ask you to pause and do an activity. So just kind of follow along so we can learn what these 6 R's are. So the first R, to help bridge the gap between our expectations and what is happening and what we observe. The first one is to recognize. And the first thing that we need to recognize is this all stinks, all right? And I'm right there with you, okay? But one of the things that we need to understand as we recognize that this is all terrible, we're uncomfortable with it, is we need to get out of our own head. And I know that's hard for us to do, but what I mean by that is we need to realize that it's not just happening to us, that it's happening all over the world, globally. So this is huge. So once we can recognize that, you know, we're upset about this, we're disappointed, it just plain stinks, that will help us move forward and then recognize we're not alone. Okay, so that's where we start. And I think that that's probably the easiest to understand at this point. All right, the second R is to refocus, okay? Refocus. One thing that we can do to refocus is to look at or ask ourselves the question, what have we learned so far? And so the way I look at it when I refocus is I ask myself, what have I learned during this whole process? During this whole social distancing, during this whole not be able to go to school and work. And one of the things that I've learned is nothing is for certain. And I think that's a big lesson that all of us across the whole world is learning right now. And so to help us with that is also to ask other questions to help us refocus. What are some things that we're grateful for? You know, is it that we're grateful for our family, our friends, our talents? Are we grateful for the opportunities that we did have leading up to these last few days? That's really, really important to help us do that. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to make this question personal to you. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video if you need to, and on your piece of paper where you created your boxes, you can flip it over or write it right in the gap. I want you to think about 2 things that you have learned during this whole situation that can help you grow. I'll see you in a minute. Yep, I'm still here. Okay, so the third R that I want to focus on in our gap is regroup. Okay, so what I mean by regroup is now all of us, and I'll include myself in that as well, we all have all this time on our hands, okay? And I know that's very difficult for those of us that are used to our overpacked schedules. And I know many of you that are watching this video, and you are very busy people, okay? Your schedules are jam-packed, one thing after another. And so right now, during this stay-at-home time, we have this time on our hands. So one of the things that we need to do is we kind of need to step back and spend time regrouping. And what I mean by that is looking at our open schedule now, we need to create a new schedule that's going to help us today and the upcoming days. And so it's important when you create a schedule that there's 5 things that can go into a schedule that will help you manage your time, but also be healthy, okay, and take care of yourself. The first thing is to create a to-do list, all right? And that to-do list could include your online homework assignments. It could be your yearbook deadlines if you're in charge of the yearbook. It could be simply your projects that you've wanted to get done, or hobbies that you've been wanting to do. So you start there. What are particular things that you want to work on? Then you include in your schedule time for exercise. Okay, if you have the equipment inside like treadmills and weights and all that good stuff, I encourage you to set time aside in your schedule to do that. If you don't set time to go outside, go for a walk, take deep breaths, walk your dog, walk your neighbor's dog, okay? But do something to help you burn off that energy, because we all need that, and that's very helpful, okay? The other thing that you need to do as well is to reach out to others, okay? Help them get through their to-do list or help with that. Self-care is another big thing that we need to do. Take time for ourselves. And some of us, that's very hard for us, especially when we're used to that one thing right after another thing in our schedule that never seems to fit in there. So now's the time that we can do that. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to create a schedule. And it's okay if you create it starting from right now when you look at the clock to the rest of the day. It doesn't have to be, a weekly schedule. It can be a day by day, because sometimes that's all we can do to help us not be overwhelmed, is take day by day. So go ahead and take that time. I hope you've been able to develop a schedule. Will bring some structure during your days, because right now when our structure is disrupted. So I hope that you'll find that helpful. So moving on in our R list to fill the gap, our 4th R is relationships. Now I know that all the relationships that you have right now are so very, very important to you. And I know one of the biggest disappointments or the biggest sadness that we have is that we're physically separated from those. So the good news is, even though we can't physically be with those in our relationship circle, whether it's family, friends, coaches, teachers, okay, even though we physically can't be with them, online technology allows us to be able to still connect, to be able to still have those bonding relationships. And so what are some online tools that we use? Well, many of you, social media, right? You're always Snapchatting, Twittering, Instagramming, all that stuff that you do. So you all have that down pat. You're really, really good at that, okay? But besides that, think a little outside the box. How can we connect with the relationships in our lives besides social media, right? So you have those video platforms that you can use. So you can Skype, FaceTime, Facebook Live, all that stuff. As well as, you know, you can pick up the phone, good old phone, right? Dial the number, call up grandma, see how grandma's doing, because grandmas really aren't into technology right now, so we gotta call them. Writing old-fashioned letters, okay? Sometimes getting a note or a card in the mail, letting somebody know that you're thinking of them, it does wonders, okay? It goes a long way, all right? So you have, you know, tools like that to connect, to fill that gap that we have. So I encourage you to continue doing that, because we all have that and we can do that well, all right? The fifth R I want to talk about is reach out. So obviously reach out in relationships, they're very much connected, which is why they're back to back, okay? Because when we have relationships with family and friends, we also want to reach out to them, all right? And part of reaching out is looking at how can we support each other. Yeah, we can check in with them and see how they're doing to continue that relationship, but how can we be helpful? So maybe some things that you can do is you reach out to your parents or your guardians in your home and ask, how can I help? Whether it's, you know, doing the dishes, whether it's watching your younger brother or sister, or contributing to the household in some way. It could be as simple as taking care of your pet. It could be as simple as that. But the key word is when you reach out and be supportive, make it helpful, because that's one thing we want to make sure we do, is that we're helpful during this time. So go ahead and take a minute and jot this down, and kind of jot down what are 2 things that you know would be helpful and that you could reach out to loved ones to help them through this time. Continuing on to our last R. Now you notice I wrote it big, and the last R is reflect. And the reason I wrote it big is because this is huge, okay? This is so important, especially right now, okay? Is taking the time to reflect on all of the positive opportunities that we've had, all the positive things, accomplishments, and successes. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Dawn, that is impossible to do right now because everything is so negative. And I get you, okay? I understand that. But one thing that I know that we have control over is we have control over of what we think. And we can control and change our way of thinking. So I encourage you to do just that, okay? And one way that we can do that many SLS students and many seniors over the past centuries, what they've done is they've created time capsules or memory boxes or memory books, whatever gets your fancy, okay, that gets you excited, you can create. And so some samples I want to share with you, if you wouldn't mind, and I don't think you mind, so kind of follow with me here. An example of how SLS organization, and SLS has been around since 1982 for those that aren't very familiar with us. Yes, it's a very long time. And one of the things that we've done in the organization and that students help us do is we've created t-shirt banners. So you can kind of see these t-shirt banners here. And this is a good example of the SLS organization time capsule. So it's not in a tube or a box or anything, but it's displayed, okay, through t-shirt banners and stuff like that to help people to remember their accomplishments that they've had. So one of the things over here, barrel of monkeys, barrel of fun, okay, to remind students of a positive time in their life where they had fun and they got together with their peers. So that's just one sample, okay? And you could be creative like this. A lot of families do memory blankets that show milestones in their life, from when they first got their hair cut to, you know, losing their tooth, or sporting events and paraphernalia. So milestones in the family. A lot of families create that for their children. So those are a couple examples. Now I know what you're thinking, well geez, you know, how can I throw all that together if, you know, I'm not artistic or if I'm not a sewer, okay? Well, relax, okay, because I have some samples that SLS students helped me create during my time with them. And so here's some easy things that you could do. This right here is a memory box. So you can kind of see it was designed and kind of decorated with inspirational things, decorated with memories and stuff like that. And in here I have keepsakes of little notes, little messages that students have written to me. Little trinkets, little doodads. This was a little sash that students made for me and stuff like that. So it could be simple as this, okay? Or if you like time capsules, this right here serves as a little time capsule. And again, I just put in there things that I want to remember. Either something that happened on a day that I want to make sure that I remember. I'll write down that note and I'll put the date and I put it into my little time capsule here so that I remember. So these are just some simple ideas that you can do. It doesn't take a lot of materials and it doesn't take a lot of effort to do, but it helps us to reflect and look back, and so that we can smile when we think about the past days. So I just shared some samples of what we can do to capture the memories that are important to us. So I have a challenge for all of you. I have a challenge for you seniors, and if you're not a senior, you're still welcome to do this because I want us all to remember all of the positive things. I challenge you to create a time capsule, a memory box, a memory book, whatever you choose to do. I challenge you to create one, okay? And put in there the events from today. Now I know the events today aren't all positive, but what we know is that we grow from the disappointments. So I encourage you not only to put in your successes, but also put in the things that you want to remember, because those are things that help us grow and mature. So this is what you need to do, okay? So after you watch this video, I want you to head over to our social media channels, Instagram and Facebook. You can find us there at SLS Today. And we're going to be putting some helpful tips on what can go, ideas that can go into your memory book or time capsule. So go ahead and you can check that out to give you a little help. And while you're there, go ahead and friend us and follow us. But this is the rest of your challenge. Go ahead and create something and send a picture to me. You can email it to dmf@slstoday.org, or you can DM it to SLS Today on Facebook or Instagram. Take a picture of what you created and just put a simple list. What are some things in it? Maybe it's a card from grandma. Maybe it's a ticket from the play that you were the star in. Okay, so a picture and a couple items that you put in there. If you send that to us by April 6th, the first 10 submissions, I'm going to give away a $25 Amazon gift card. That's right, 10 students will get $25. That's $250 that I would like to give away to help support you and get you through the upcoming days. So be one of the first 10 students by April 6th to send that in to us. Look forward to seeing your treasures, and I'll see you soon.